going to shift gears a little bit and bring up my good friend Nir, talking about, is it raining unicorns? Is it raining unicorns? Yeah, I see some up there. Anyway, a snapshot from the Israeli startup scene, and I had a chance to take a look through his talk, and it meshes really well with what we were doing yesterday with the fund manager, and this whole discussion at its core about, as a VC, what do you do? How do you create value? And the Israeli startups and scale-up scenes seem to have gotten that down to a T. So with that as an introduction, let me turn it over to Nir, please.
Everyone, let me share the screen. Are we able to see my screen?
Yeah, not yet, but it's thinking about it.
Yeah, what happened here? Just a minute. Weird.
Okay, if you'd like me to, I have a copy. I can go ahead and put that up on screen.
Maybe, but everything is stuck here, so I know. Let me see what I can do.
Give it another second.
Do what I can.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I have it, but the thing is that I don't see the slide. Everything is stuck. So.
All right, it must be those unicorns raining down and interfering with things. So with that in mind, go ahead.
Sorry about it.
And yeah, if you could quit sharing the screen, and I'll go ahead and do that.
Never happened before. Oh, there's something happening. Just
yeah, that's me.
Cool. No, but maybe I can.
Oh, all right. I'll back out.
Let's
go ahead and
try it again. I'm sorry about it.
That's all right. Okay.
No, doesn't go through. All right, never mind.
Oh, there you go. You're up.
Yeah, but it's not. It's mine.
It's yours.
Just a second, but it doesn't go. Yeah, it is good. Great. All right, everyone. Sorry about it. All right. Thanks, Rick, for the intro, and thanks, Kevin. Kevin, I'm following your Consider's venture and your work, and you're doing a great job. I think we're going to see in a few years the tokenization is a major part of the whole VC environment. And thank you all for being here. And today's session is really maybe the next chapter or the sequence of my previous session that I talked in June, in the Boost 21 in June, in which I talked about the shift that Israel had gone through from being a startup nation, which was a phenomenon 15 years ago or 12 years ago, to being the land of unicorns. And I won't repeat today the whole thing that I discussed about and the reason that led to being a country as a land of unicorn. I won't repeat that, so I advise you to go and hear it again. But it will give you a perspective of what I consider here as the scale-up scene in Israel. So we're going to have a snapshot on that today. And basically, we're going to focus on understanding how value creation really looks like. And I'm going to use some of the strategy tools toolkit, and especially the startup series of strategy tools, and it will be visualized in a good way, I think. So maybe we'll start with a short intro about myself. I'm Nir Melamud. I'm the founder CEO of Fresh Start, an advisory firm that helps entrepreneurs grow faster and hopefully smarter. utilizing go-to-market and digital marketing methods, strategic partnership and investor readiness programs. Also, I have more than 17 years of experience working with some B2B, B2C clients, global facilitation of projects, and I'm really enjoying being in the last year or so, maybe year and a half, part of this amazing strategy tools partner network. A bunch of smart people that always learn new things. It's amazing. So let's start. So things haven't changed. I mean, some things haven't changed in the last half year. And the basic thing is that Israel is a, well, tiny country, ranked 96 in the world in population. It's much smaller than the major economies in the world. And yet it's keeping its spot in the top 5 tech economies or market in the world. This is quite a phenomenon, and not only in the established economy, but also we see India rise as an evolving tech market. And in order to do that, Israel had to jump. The 11.4 billion investment in tech investments was a record last year, and we increased in a 134% compared to that, to a mesmerizing 25.4 billion. And just to align everyone, the global average tech investment rose this year. I mean, the global average was 71%. Now that is a result of an abundance of capital, low interest environment, which actually present lack of alternatives to invest in. So most of the pensions and private equity and major funds, etc., pension funds are starting to invest also and look at the venture capital ecosystem as an investment, and that's what made the whole thing rise. But it's not only about. I don't know why this. Do you see the headlines here, or only I see the toolbar? Do you see the headline good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Headlines coming through. Thanks.
All right. Cool. All right. So, but it's not only about tech investment and startups. At the end, we're talking about value creation, and the Israeli ventures created a massive value this year. And if we look at the exit, whether these are IPOs or M&A or SPACs that were popular during the last year or maybe 2 years, we are seeing a massive value. And when that happens, everyone's happy. I mean, the founders are happy, the investors are happy for sure. The ecosystem, getting flourished and thrive. Government, taxes, and employment ratio and everything happy, and the people give them pride. So when that happens, everyone wants more. And what happens in Israel is that most entrepreneurs become serial entrepreneurs, which is very common. And the whole system is like getting into the trenches and work for that. And we can really see a kind of a perpetuum mobile, a self-propelled machine that feeds itself and increases. So this is really what happens when you see when unicorn becomes and value creation becomes more extended and more and creates more people engage with and help the whole system goes up. So let's go to the basics, but let's see how a unicorn is defined. So the definition for unicorn is that it's a privately held technology-based startup that has a valuation of over $1 billion. Now, in the past, it was very rare to find a privately held company that is worth more than $1 billion, and that's why they called it a unicorn, which is a rare animal and a creature. And in 2013, there were 39 unicorns globally. In 2018, there were 206 unicorns globally. Now, Rick, you looked for a for unicorn reign somewhere above you. But today's globally, there is a reign of unicorns. We're talking about more than 1,000 unicorns globally, out of which 9.5% comes from Israel. Now, you have to bear in mind that when a company exits or having a SPAC or IPO'd, it's no longer considered as a unicorn because publicly held, and so this current number, it's updated to the end of 2021, means that we distracted last year's unicorns that became public or exited, and these are a new or current 101 Israeli unicorn. So basically 41 new unicorns in Israeli unicorns in 2021. Most of them comes from the fintech, AI, cybersecurity is usually related to the, I talked about a little bit in my previous session. We're talking about the army that brings in talented and disciplined people and all the time. And these topics are related to military domains. But we do see some rise in the remote work, okay, and also the climate tech. You can see here Tomorrow.io, which is well, I would say a SaaS or operating system for dealing with climate aspect. It's a strong unicorn that's going to play a big role, I think, in the climate ecosystem. You're going to hear that, but the climate is still, Israel is not considered as a strong market as Europe, for example. But without doubt, this is a huge amount of value that stays in the country with 41 unicorns, and it increases the employment ratio and everything, taxes. So it's really massive. Now that leads to the question of what is needed to create a unicorn. And in my view, at the end, it comes down to two essences that contains more within them, but two essences. One, you have to have right from the start a strong forward-thinking vision, and the other is having a superb execution. Now, when talking about strong forward-thinking vision, you have to, right from day one, to think global. Now, Israel is a small market, so Israelis entrepreneurs don't think of the local market as the target market. They right from the start think about the US or the Europe or the Asian market, and they aim from that. So this is like the first basic thing. You have to think big. You have to have a strong vision. This is one thing. The second thing is really about the belief, or we could call it also a maturity thing, because the Israeli entrepreneurs saw Waze being bought by Google in 2013 by more than $1 billion. And they saw Wix, which is a $16 billion valuated company, and Mobileye, which was acquired by Intel at a $15 billion. And so they see these success stories. They see Lemonade, they see JFrog, they see eToro, lots. So the barriers are really, the belief is there, the maturity is there, the aim for that. And the third part, I think, that helps this forward thinking and the big vision mentality is really this layer of mentors or coaches that help these entrepreneurs right from the start. And just to align everyone, we're talking about in Israel more than 450 accelerators, for example. And most of the accelerators, I think 90-something% out of those, are working with mentors that work for pro bono, in a pro bono way, meaning these are serial entrepreneurs or previous entrepreneurs that help on their free time with professional help and visionary help to those early stage entrepreneurs. So this is a lot of value injected to the startups right from the start. So this is one thing, and this is an ecosystem thing. The second thing is really about dealing with a superb execution, and most of those 41 that you've seen, most of them are serial entrepreneurs based. And why is that? That happened because when you understand the process the process that the company goes through from being, I know, few workers or maybe tens of workers to being a hundreds or thousand employees in a scale of 3 years or 4 years, that the hyper growth that requires ability and you need to know this process. You need to been there and done that. So this is a rare ability elsewhere in the world, maybe Silicon Valley and I think the UK market is also good at that. But in Israel, it's quite, well, you have this ability. You have many serial entrepreneurs that been there and done that. And Israel is accessible. It's a small country. We call it the city of Tel Aviv, or the country of Tel Aviv, we call it, because it's a center, it's a focal point. And that's more, now funds attraction, you have to understand that out of the $25 billion that were invested this year, more than 70% is actually global money that comes in. So the ecosystem really attracts the funds and supports the ecosystem and the entrepreneurs and the whole thing. So bear this in mind. It's the basic that have to be done in order to have this kind of ecosystem that creates unicorn. Now, what I like about the strategy tools mindset and toolkits and everything is that it's built on the long-term value creation mindset. And in order to show you that, or to help you understand how a value creation of a company really looks like, I'm going to use these tools and how does it look like when a value creation is created to all stakeholders. And I'm going to do that by looking at monday.com. Now, I guess most of you know this company. Probably you've seen some advertisement and stuff, but if you know, it's basically a collaboration workflow tool, project management, but it's a theme-based project management for it started as an enterprise tool, but it now could be from startups to I know, a Fortune 500 company, maybe larger than that. And it started they started to solve a problem of helping teams deal with the hyper growth. Okay, this is how they started. Now let's try to see how value creation really looks like by going through the stages of monday.com. And well, basically monday.com started by Eran and Roy, 2 Wix employees, and they Wix at the time in 2010 faced the hyper growth, and they faced the complexity of managing teams throughout this hyper growth. And they said, why won't we have a tool that help us collaborate internally for our teams? So they rushed up, they added one more personnel to person in their team to build something, and they built a prototype. It took them, they did it in the spare time, so it took them about 2 years, and they created a solution. And what they did was really looking to see if it really solves problem, if it makes sense to teams. So they started within the Wix teams. They called like 10 other teams. They used it on their own. They called 10 other teams to see if that makes sense and solve problem. And the first reaction was, yeah, it's an amazing tool. Okay, cool. So let's go to other client that we can offer that to them. Again, no money, no payment for that. Still just checking if it makes sense. And they did so. So they reached out to 15 customers, and when they understood that it brings value And these customers said, "Who? Yeah, we will pay for that." Then they decided to spin off. They knocked on the door of the Wix CEO called Avishai Avrahami, and he told them, "You have my blessing." And they did a spin-off, a seed round, and they were called back then the pools. Now, I'm not going to explain the whole mechanism of the canvases here, but basically they raised 1.5 million at an undisclosed valuation by two VCs firms, external VC firm, which is Entry Capital and Genesis Partner. Okay, and if we look at their scale-up map in a way, the x-axis is the life stages of a startup, and you can see that they are in the prototype part, well, the concept or maybe product. You can see that they're looking to have. Let me enlarge it. So the problem was really employees that need to share updates without creating too much noise in the system. And they look for a themed internal enterprise communication tool. It's a SaaS, supposed to be a monthly subscribe per user tool. And at the time, they reached out to 15 external companies, and plus minus thousands of employees out of these companies were using the tools back then. And they raised the capital. All right. So they had their problem solution fit. And at that point, it took them about 2 years that they recruited nine developers, and they were attracting first paying customers. They did it with a 6 back in 2014. And look at that rise. Look, in 1 year, and we're talking about enterprise customers, okay? A rise in 1 year from 6 paying customers to more than 3,000 paying customers. That reflects more than, I know, it's hundreds of thousands of employees that were using in 1 year after doing the MVP. Now, what it does, it really implies that you are, the market is big enough for you and your product is fit to that market. Okay, that's where they were. And at that stage, when you reach the product market fit stage, they decided to go to, and it's a common thing, to go to the A series. And on the A series, again, there were only 2 VCs, a follow-on investment, investing 7.6 million, again, at an undisclosed valuation. And this is a good signal because these VCs are really understand, I mean, they have the due diligence, they know the numbers, they know everything, and they kept the whole, I mean, they rushed to pay the money once Monday.com needed it, the pools at the time, and they invested the money. Okay, so this is how the scale-up map look like. I won't go into details, but they know that they're forward thing and they need to grow fast. And they decide to do it online through events and PR. They were looking more in the US and Europe, mainly English speakers country. That was the main language in on the system. It's 2016, so a mobile app was a must back then. And they also saw that Microsoft acquired Yammer back then, and they thought of having an exit potential with the big ones, with the Facebook and Google, but it faded away later on. All right.
A near quick time check. Probably 3-4 minutes because we do have to have a small break before the next breakout. So, yeah.
So I'm rushing. All right. So
okay. No, this is really good, but hit a couple of key points, and there might be a question or two.
All right. So rapid growth from the right to 49K customers, 2 rounds. You see in the C round here, again, look at how a follow-on investment comes in, and 50 million and 500 million is a great value for the founders, for example, because it's less than 10% equity for 50 million. It really implies that this company done well back then. You see the expansion here. They rebranded the name to Monday.com. I'm rushing, and look, they have now new objectives like having a not necessarily an internal enterprise communication tool, but rather a work operating system. This is a new big vision that they have. Okay, they rushed super fast to an IPO. In 2000, it took them a year to double their customers to 100K customers. And at that point, they raised this series at a 1.9 billion valuation. So here they became a unicorn. Right, I'm rushing. After that, in June 2021, they were listed in NASDAQ at a 7.6 billion valuation. Now you can see the massive value that came out very, very fast, and that happens because they could double their customer count almost every year or every 5 months at the beginning and a year right afterwards. Now, let's see some parameters of value creation. So look at the ARR. ARR is the income, the annual revenues that they were producing. So in 2018, there was 32 million ARR. 1 year later, it's 78 million ARR. You can see 161. And nowadays, there are 320 million ARR. By the way, they're a public company. They're valuated more than $15.6 billion. Okay, that's a lot. It's also value creation for the customers. And it's really, you can look at it at the count of work actions per user. So how many actions a single user do in a month or in a year. So you can see here rise from 43 to 77K actions in the system. That means value created for the customers. Also for the investors. So you can see here the different investors and distribution of the cap table at the IPO. But look at these multipliers here, 30x for inside partners. If you recall, they were joining to the rounds only in the B round or C round over there, not to the initial, and they still got 30x on their money, 30x at billions valuation. So, and that in the IPO, now it's double than the IPO. Okay, that's a massive value creation. And I think the most important part is really understand the vision. And you have to think global from day one. This is Uri Levin. He's the co-founder of Waze. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's been engaged with many startups. And follow this guy. He has some smart things to say about the entrepreneur world. I advise you that. All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Good.
No, that was a really good talk about value creation. And what I appreciate, of course, is all the use of the strategy tools, templates, and roadmaps, and so on, all the way through. So I'm definitely going to be using this as an example when I talk to scale-ups and the potential there. So it's not just an Israeli message, it's a global message for sure,
Correct.
on how to build a scale-up.